Alright, I think I have it working. Yep, it looks like it's working. Okay, so it's 8:17 on July 29th, 2024. It is Monday night, and I'm gonna see if this works. So I just got some new software. It's called OBS. Never heard about it until today, but I've seen it before. So we're gonna see if this works. So we're recording. We're 39 seconds in right now, and then we're going to delete that, delete this, and delete that. Okay. So I'm just gonna start all these videos kind of the same. I think I'm just gonna get into a rhythm of it by doing a quote of the day, even if I do it multiple times. I don't really care. I'm looking to just make content and get my average up. So when I start posting these videos, you guys have something to watch. So we got an interesting quote, and this is kind of funny because I don't listen to this person's music, but I respect her and I respect her hustle. So this is by Beyonce. She says, "Don't try to lessen yourself for the world. Let the world catch up to you." I'm going to read that one more time a little slower. Don't try to lessen yourself for the world. Let the world catch up to you. I think it's good to take a moment and just try to slow down and realize that you probably have more answers inside your body and mind than you think. You just got to listen to your heart and your soul and do what you need to do to keep moving forward. So don't try to lessen yourself for the world. Let the world catch up to you. Be who you are, and don't change anything about yourself. So I'm going to see if we're still recording, and we are. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm talking about, and I think my videos are going to be a little bit better because I'm going to show you what I'm looking at, go through the data. You'll be able to read it along with me, and we'll go from there. So this is what I use to check the price every day, and what it is just the BitcoinFairPrice.com site, and it goes through its power law. You can put a date in there. It gives you the fair price, it gives you the bottom price, it gives you the current price. It tells you if it's overvalued or undervalued, and it gives you some background as to why it's important, the math behind it, and who discovered it. So I'm not going to read this word for word, but as I mentioned earlier, it was made by Giovanni. I can't pronounce his last name, so I'm just going to say Giovanni S. He realized Bitcoin's price moved in a straight line and was plotted in a log graph. So log graph of animals. So if we see what a log scale is, you can plot it on a log scale. All right, I don't want to do that. I want to do power law graph of animals. There. Here, this is better. Okay. So we can see the power law it exists in the universe. I don't want to pay for anything. So we'll go through some math. But basically what it is it's a log scale of a metabolic rate by body mass. Down in the bottom left, we got a mouse. Up in the top right, we have an elephant. So you can see as the body mass goes up, the metabolic rate, so how many calories you consume or need to sustain life, increases on a log scale. So it's a power law. If we look at the power law of planets, we see, and this is from SAS. Thank you for this information. I used to work there. We see in the period of years by the semi-major axis. So we can see Mercury, We can see Venus, we can see Earth, we can see Mars, we can see Jupiter, we can see Saturn, we can see Uranus, we can see Neptune, we can see Pluto. And this works and functions on a power law scale as well. When we look at the power law, we can then go over to the animals and we can see the one that we looked at before. We can see how there's other power laws related to math and different classifications. More evidence stating planets' distances, the sun in orbital time, shows log power law. And then when we look at Bitcoin power law, we can see that it functions in the same regard. So when it started in 2009, we can see that the price by the year functions on a log scale. So here's a log jump, here's a log jump, here's a log jump, here's a log jump. Every time it jumps up a log, pretty much 4 years goes by. So we can see in 2016, it was about $700, $500 based on the log scale. If we jump up to 2020, 4 years later, we can see that it was up towards that $6,000 to $8,000 range. It jumped up a log in 4 years. If we look at where it was in 2020, it's $7,000 to $10,000 and jump up 4 more years to 2024, where we are today. It's around $60,000 to $70,000. As we continue to grow and the halving cycle has happened back earlier this spring, we can see that what it should do theoretically is jump up another log within the next 4 years, with it typically spiking around 2025. So what I saw is the highest gross month of profit was from, I think the highest return was 2017. I could be wrong, but that's what my other video said. So from 2017, it jumped up 1,300% or something. Don't quote me on this. This is what I just remember, and this is what I'm looking at based on, this graph here from medium.com. But basically, 2017, it had annual return of Bitcoin by year. If we look at the last 10 years of Bitcoin, we had 45.3%, followed by 34%, followed by 123%, followed by 1,300%, followed by negative 73%, and then we jump another 4 years to 2022. And what we can see is every 3 years we have kind of a benefit or an upward swing towards the green side. So in 2014, it's going to be low. We're going to go 4 more years. 2018, it's going to be low. In 2022, it's going to be low like it was. In 2026, it's going to be low. But 2025 should be a significant jump. And what I was saying earlier is it should be around that 300%. And that's what I'm hoping for based on, what this number is right here, what we had in 2017, which was crazy, and what we had prior. So even if it's 155% back then, say we divide that in half, so we'll call that 77.5K, or percent. So if it goes up 50%, that's still a significant amount of return on investment. And you can see these programmatic ads right here. I've been looking at Chevys. They're trying to sell me. I haven't been looking at American Eagle. All right. So, Power Law by Giovanni S. In 2040, if we look at this, the linear regression line has this above $1 million in 2040. So, we'll see what happens. Could be worth $6 or $7 million then. Every 4 years, it goes up a log. If it continues to go up a log in 4 years, it should be well in between $5 to $10 million by that time. And that's exciting stuff. I think that's really cool. And I think it should excite you too, because, it could be life-changing money we're seeing. So that's the power law. That's my biggest thing. When I tell people about, Bitcoin and what is going on, I talk about the power law because, this dude is smart. He's got all his YouTube videos online. It's priced given a certain formula right here. That's some high level math we're talking about. Is the bottom price reliable? Yes. The model has been accurately predicting the Bitcoin bottom for many years now. So and we can let's see if we can do this. Okay, so let's predict the middle of August. Okay, so I guess $73,000 is what it's predicting, but it could be more, who knows. So we'll get rid of that one. This is what I was talking about earlier. Middle of August, $84,000. We'll see what happens. Who knows? So what I wanted to do now is go through Reddit and read some stuff out and just, give my opinion on what these people think and what they post. So this is the biggest thing that I tell people. The dollar is dying, and I'm not saying that to be a conspiracy theorist or be negative. This graph doesn't lie. I'm trying to be analytical and data driven here. And when we got off the gold standard, the dollar started depreciating and started becoming worth less and less. And now, inflation's just crazy, and the dollar's not going as far as it should. It's expensive to buy eggs. It's expensive to buy milk. It's expensive to buy anything. Just to get, chicken tenders at Hardee's the other day with my dad, it was $26 for 2 meals. It used to be like $15 for 2 meals. So the price is now doubled. This is what I was talking about earlier. So the money printer go burr. 35 trillion in debt. It's crazy. Noob question. Kid wants to sell lemonade and accept Bitcoin. That's freaking awesome. I gotta click on this. Kid selling meth, obviously. That's funny. Good for that kid. Wow. 94 slides? That's fucking crazy. Wow. See if I can make myself smaller. Yeah, that looks better. Don't know why I didn't have that done in the first place. Okay, so I'm gonna go through these slides. All right, all credit here goes to Michael Saylor. But I'm gonna read this out and just go through it and go through each slide and think about what he's trying to get out of each slide and what what comes to mind, I guess, because this dude's smart. He doesn't use like really, he uses very concise and precise slides. I love this. Okay. All right. So we're going to go through this. Okay. The Bitcoin revolution, rebuilding our global economy with digital capital by Michael Saylor. Okay. So the world as we know it is based on 20th century ideas and technology. Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about all this AI, we're talking about all this machine learning, we're talking about everything becoming digitized, and how is money going to be digitized? I guess that's my initial thought with that. If we wish to prosper in the 21st century, we need new ideas based on new technology. Yeah, he's right. I mean, how are we going to get out of debt, and how are we going to make things more efficient? Because that's all we're doing. We're making things more efficient day in and day out. That's how humans are. Okay, so global wealth is stored in physical and financial assets. Okay, so the total global asset value that he's forecasting right here is $900 trillion. So in total, we have $120 trillion in cash. We have $300 trillion in bonds. We have $330 trillion in real estate. We have $115 trillion in equities. We have $6 trillion in cars and collectibles, which is interesting. I didn't realize that was going to be there. We have $18 trillion in art. We have $16 trillion in gold. And we have $1 trillion in Bitcoin. That's nuts. All right. I got to do some quick math. Okay. So I know this is simple math, but I'm going to mess it up. So I'm going to do it this way. So we're doing 1 divided by 900. Okay, so that is, I'm going to do it on the screen so you guys can see. Oops. Why am I looking at this? All right, so, sorry, I'm getting tired. No, not sorry. So Bitcoin represents 0.11%, right? We got 1, 2. 0.11% of the world's global physical and financial assets is Bitcoin. That's crazy. That's going to go up substantially over the course of the next 25 to 50 years. It's going to be nuts. I didn't realize cars and collectibles were at 6. That's awesome, because I want to buy a collectible car, but I want to drive it as a daily driver. I don't want to collect shit. I want to be actually using my stuff. So, okay, so we see that the money is worth 120 trillion in circulation, or there's 120 trillion in circulation right now with money. But if we look at what's the dollar worth chart, this is a better picture. Alrighty. So if I max or minimize this, okay, so this is back before 1920. We had the Federal Reserve Act creates a central bank with the ability to manage the country's money supply. So the dollar was over $25. The value of $1 US in 2020 versus the purchasing power over the course of the years. Wow. Okay. So we can see once we came off the gold standard, even though the dollar was depreciating to begin with, it just expedited the process. And now it's 2020 and it's even lower. So we have a money supply moving in the negative. We have an asset that is basically depreciating and losing money, and we're storing value in there. That is not a good source of funds or use of funds. What we want to do is grow this dude because it's more versatile than this guy. It doesn't have upkeeping like this guy. And these motherfuckers are just cash and trash. Cars, not so much. Art, sure. But gold, I mean, it's a store of value. It's real. It's there. It's gone up in price. Silver's behind. I mean, silver's a $1 trillion asset too. Could be more. Who knows? We'll talk about that in other videos. Okay, so these assets, A, provide utility, and B, preserve capital. So we have 450 trillion in assets held for utility. And we got 450 trillion as a long-term capital. So we're storing $450 trillion of value in these assets. The global economy struggles because it relies on imperfect assets and crippled systems. Yeah, I mean, stuff isn't working. We're definitely not as efficient as we could be. We could streamline a lot of stuff, become more efficient, and really just, I mean, there's so much BS that we have to deal with when it comes to like getting money or wiring something, paying a fee associated with that wire, going out of the country and having to exchange euros for USD, when you could just have a universal form of money that, I could buy a house in Tokyo while I'm in Africa. I mean, I could Bitcoin, send it, boom, done, get back to America, have the house. How do we engineer a better economic system? I mean, people way smarter than me are trying to figure that out. I just want to be a part of it. If you wish to understand the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Yeah, I mean, what is life? Life is energy. What is Bitcoin? It is digital energy. Oops. Okay, so we have energy. So we have money, capital, and wealth. We have frequency, its duration and lifespan. We have vibration, its trade, transfer, and transformability. The first law of money, we have the lifespan of an asset is equal to the value of an asset divided by its maintenance cost. That's a good way to look at things. And all credit of this goes to Michael Saylor and whoever put these slides together. I'm just reading it for my own education and learning, and I'm recording myself, just brainstorming what comes to mind when I think of this stuff. Because I'm sure you guys probably think similar stuff. Okay. Many individuals and corporations use financial assets to preserve capital. Correct. Inflation is 98% over the past 4 years in Argentina. The ARS USD 135 to 1420 is a 90% loss, and that's over 2 years. Okay, so that's not good. Inflation is 40% during past 4 years in Turkey. So the USD conversion to the Turkey dollar is 7.3 to 32.8. That's a 78% loss. The supply of the USD has increased approximately 7% yearly for the past century. So that's a 99.9% loss of what we have our value was. Hedge funds charge 2% fee and 20% performance fee, which equates to around 4% of assets annually. Hedge fund, 25 years. This is getting technical. I'm not sure what he means by this stuff, so I'm just going to kind of zip through it. So I guess this is just like how long it takes to get money back. Okay, so what he's trying to say is financial assets constantly degrade in value due to inflation, regulation, and political chaos. So you got your ARS, you got your TRI, you got your USD, you got your hedge funds, you got your UST, and you got your mutual funds. Inflation dilutes the value of financial assets. When the money printer go burr, it's not good. Inflation is just the tip of the iceberg. You got regulation, we got taxation, competition, obsolescence, incompetence, and catastrophe dilute capital. Yeah, that's a lot of stuff. Frustration with financial assets cause individuals, corporations, and institutions to turn to physical assets to preserve their physical capital or their capital. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. People buy stuff to preserve their wealth, like houses. Physical assets. Exotic sports cars come with high insurance, store, fuel, maintenance, tax, and depreciation expenses. So a Ferrari, you got 5 years. Physical assets like a yacht. So annual operation of a yacht is 10% of purchase price. Depreciation is 5% more. So 6 years depreciation. Storing your money in a yacht doesn't really sound that good. I mean, what, you spend $1 billion and it costs 10% of that to operate it, and then it depreciates at 5% from that $1 billion. I mean, that boat is a sinking, depreciating asset. Okay, so then we got houses, so physical assets. We got a $10 million home in Miami, costs $400,000 a year in tax, insurance, utilities, maintenance, and upkeep. 17 years. I guess maybe you keep them for 17 years, or the average. Maybe that's what he means by sports cars or something like that. We got physical assets. So we got the stock to flow of silver is 22, which means that investors are being diluted 4.5% annually. Okay, so silver, 22 years. I guess maybe that's, you hold on to it for an average of 22 years. The average life of a warehouse is 40 years. Then it will need to be rebuilt for the new economy. Yeah, so you see all these thriving businesses. At some point, those businesses are going to shut down because those buildings are going to be old and they're going to need to be renovated. So, you could buy a big Amazon center, but in 25 to 50 years, that center is going to be worth nothing because it's not going to be habitable for the workers and all the products that are there. Maybe it takes longer than 40 years. So, I mean, they'll make a lot of money within that 40 years, but at the end of the day, that warehouse is going to, depreciate. Okay, so we got gold now. So the stock to flow of gold is 62, which is better. The annual dilution of 1.6%. So you got taxes, transport, and storage risk reduce life further. So a lot of people, if they're using IRAs, they're not able to keep that physical silver. You have to store it in a place that keeps it safe. Okay, so we got physical assets like paintings. So a rare painting comes with storage costs, insurance costs, restoration costs, and transport fees, plus cultural risk. So you got to make sure that painting doesn't get messed up, because if it gets messed up, I mean, what is it worth? And how do you know if it's real? I mean, you got to authenticate that stuff. So then we got land. So the average property tax in the United States is 1.1%. We assume no increase in property assessment. So land is a good asset. Wow, I need to buy some land. Maybe I buy some land instead of buying a car first. King Ranch. So the oldest major real estate holding in the U.S. is the King Ranch in Texas, dating back to 1851. Wow, that's awesome looking. Passed between Norman, Plantagenet, Lancaster, York, Tudor, Stuart, and the Hanover families since 1066. The Crown Estate. Wow, that's some money right there. Physical assets constantly degrade in value due to the laws of entropy and political chaos. Yeah, so while all those things are good, they have downfalls. They have negatives to them. Entropy dilutes the value of physical assets. Entropy understates the risks that imperil property. So you got property taxes, economic and political chaos, crime, catastrophe, and competition all dilute physical capital. So you got all these taxes, you have recessions, you got all these weather events and environmental problems. So this is what he learned at MIT. 3 laws of thermodynamics. You can't win, you can't break even, you can't get out of the game. But what if you could find a way out of the game? Then you could break even. Yeah, breaking even sounds pretty good. What sounds even better is maybe winning. I'd like to win. Satoshi found a way, gave it away, and went away. Bitcoin is digital capital. Bitcoin is immortal, immutable, and immaterial capital. The solution to the world's economic dilemma is that the transformation of our capital from financial and physical assets to digital assets. Bitcoin has no exposure to the forces that dilute financial and physical assets and costs 10 basis points to custody. Pretty sure that's what he means by BP. So Bitcoin with custodian can last 1,000 years. It's got a high useful life. It's better than that Ferrari. It's better than that yacht for sure. At least you can really enjoy a Ferrari. You can't get on a boat all the time unless you want to stay on a boat for like months at a time, which would be pretty cool. But when we think of digital assets, Bitcoin in self-custody at scale avoids all counterparty risk and costs. So 1 basis point to maintain. It can last up to 10,000 years. That's crazy. Digital assets can be held in AI for the cost of the electricity to remember the private keys. 0.1. So a Bitcoin AI custody, 100,000 years. Digital assets are the best store of value yet discovered, and the only way to preserve capital indefinitely. So we got a use case now from 5 to 1,000 years to 1,000 to 100,000 years. Yep. What did I say? Bitcoin is a revolutionary advance in economics. So consumption from 1 year to 10 years, you got all this currency, you have all these toys, you have the $10 million place in Miami, you got the castle that has been around since 1066. But what do we really want? Do we want this stuff now, or do we want this stuff now that's secure and get this stuff later? If you would be rich, trade wisely. So it's temporary for permanent, currency for capital, fragile for resilient, local for global, physical for digital, security for commodity, commodity for scarcity. Some great trades in history. So the Dutch buy Manhattan for 60 guilders. Natives sold the greatest port in the New World to a country that understood naval power. The Manhattan Purchase is now valued at $2.1 trillion. which has gained 10.5 billion X, I guess. 100,000, yeah. 10.5 billion. The average recurring, the ARR. Pretty sure that's, annual recurring revenue of 6% for 398 years. That's crazy. I wish I had some land there. That would be awesome. Next, we got France sells Louisiana to the U.S. for $15 million. So Napoleon was fighting for the old war, or the old world. Jefferson was growing in the new world. The Louisiana Purchase, 27% of the 48 states. That was valued at $12 trillion. It had a gain of 800,000%. That's an ARR of 6.3% for 221 years. That's awesome. Land is where it's at. Russia sold Alaska to the U.S. for $7.2 million in 1867. We have the Alaska Purchase, 19% of the 48 states. So valued at $1 trillion in oil. That's a gain of 139,000x. It's an ARR of 7.8% for 157 years. That's so much money over that amount of time. So what is Bitcoin worth? What is what we're talking about worth? What is what matters worth? So we got $450 trillion from those slides previous times a 3% annual dilution. That equals $13.5 trillion per year, or $270 trillion. The economic benefit to the world of digital capital is more than 10 trillion annually. That's crazy. The economic benefit to the world of digital capital is more than 10 trillion annually. Reality check. Bitcoin is outperforming all asset classes. Okay, so we got Bitcoin. Okay, so annualized rate of return since August 10th, 2021, MicroStrategy adopted its Bitcoin strategy. And MicroStrategy is killing it because they're doing this. So Bitcoin return 55%, S&P 500 13%, NASDAQ 13%, gold 5%, silver 2%, bonds -5%. Yeah, I'm not a mathematician, but if I had $100,000, I know which asset I'd be putting it in. So we go back to this global wealth chart. So this is how it's being redistributed by digital forces. So what we had earlier is that $1 trillion right there, that 0.11% of all the assets globally. So I guess this is where the good stuff happens, because right now the price of Bitcoin is $65,000. The percent of assets that it's worth is worth 0.1%. Like I said before, the market cap is $1.3 trillion. In 2045, we have a bear, base, and bull case. The bear case being $3 million, the base case being $13 million, and the bull case being $49 million. That's a 2% that's 2% total of the assets if it does that, or 7% or 22%. Then that market cap would be $68,280 trillion and $1,030 trillion. So that would be an ARR of 21%, 29%, or 37%. I'm happy with the bear case here. I mean, realistically speaking, I'd rather have more time to continue to buy more. So that's my philosophy on it. So the macro 21-year forecast. So we got Bitcoin at $1 trillion. That percent is 0.1%. By 2045, the market cap might be $280 trillion. That would be a percentage of 7%, and that would be an ARR of 29%. If we look at gold, the price or the market cap of gold is $16 trillion, which makes sense, and that's 2% of the total assets. what we see happening is gold becoming or tripling and getting to that $45 trillion mark, which would be about 1% of the total assets, or an ARR of 5%. Wow, real estate's going to jump up a lot, but it's only going to be 7%. Bonds are going to jump up. Money, I don't see how money's going to go up, because it's just going to be getting printed and inflation is going to continue to go up. So this is what we're looking at when we talk about macro assets from shifting to equity in Bitcoin by 2045. So what we saw earlier was the total value of assets at 2045 being $4,000 trillion. So right now it's 900 trillion. It's probably going to be up at 4,000 trillion by 2045, unless something else happens. I mean, we're going to continue to go up. Inflation is going to continue to rise. But what we can see now is Bitcoin is at $280 trillion as an asset class instead of $1 trillion. Gold's bumped up to 45 trillion from 16 trillion, I'm pretty sure. And then real estate was, really good. Equities were pretty good. Art was good. Bonds, money, it's all going to go up. But this is some serious growth. This is also some serious growth. So I think, buying property is definitely going to be on my roadmap in the future. So ultimately, as we go through this presentation and we talk about this and you read it and kind of think for yourself, you have to really ultimately decide, what is Bitcoin worth to you? Okay, so if you want to maximize your earning power, invest wisely and stay focused. What you should do is make Bitcoin your primary treasury asset. You should convert excess earnings into Bitcoin. You should utilize subsidized credit to invest in Bitcoin, and you should invest in tax-efficient entities and domains. Interesting. I wonder if that means like buying websites and company names, because Bitcoin is going to be in stuff. Don't quit your day job. Yep, I agree with that. Don't lose your focus on Bitcoin, and don't use margin loans or trade with leverage. Yeah, buy what you can afford. If that's $100 a month, that's $100 a month. So here's the strategy. So you got $1 million in assets, including a $500,000 home. You got a $250,000 mortgage at a 5% interest rate, portfolio invested in equity and bonds, $200,000 earning growing at 5% per year, 25% savings rate, ability to invest $50,000 excess earnings. So your 2024 net assets is $750,000. Individual Bitcoin strategy. So if you're a normie, you're either a normie, you're a Bitcoin 10%, you're a maxi, you're a double maxi, or you're a triple maxi. So your portfolio is converted to Bitcoin, your excess earnings are converted to Bitcoin, you're increasing your mortgage to invest in Bitcoin, and you just move to a low tax jurisdiction to invest more in Bitcoin. Okay, so by 2045, okay, so I'm not sure what he means here. So I'm not going to butcher this slide. So this is corporate. I'm going to let him be specific about this. I might listen to him talk about that because I don't know what it is. Okay. So what he's shown is by taking his corporate triple maxi strategy, which is awesome and he's a beast, is that, his ARR is the highest out of all of his peers. Stock performance, incredible. I'm not worried about institutional. You can read into that. Not going to worry about that. I'm not there yet. Okay, so lastly, Bitcoin is Cyber Manhattan. I'm not sure what this number means. So what's your Bitcoin strategy? I don't know. My Bitcoin strategy is to buy as much Bitcoin as possible. That's my strategy. It might make sense just to get some in case it catches on. If enough people think the same way, that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Cool. Thanks, Michael Saylor. I appreciate it. Let's go back. Let's look at some Plan B. Okay, so this is from Plan B. Miner revenue bottomed after April 2024 halving. I expect Bitcoin price to double from today in 3 to 5 months. I expect Bitcoin price to double from today in 3 to 5 months. Wow. So we're looking at 130K. Yeah, this is what I like. Phase 5, nation state adoption. Are you ready? Stock to flow model. Bitcoin price, we're red right now. That means months until next halving. That means we have a significant amount of time for it to flow upward, as you can see in the red, orange to yellow lines. That's when it jumps up a log. We can see in 2025, as I've stated before, it'll be around that $200,000 to $600,000 price range. I'm going to follow Michael Saylor. Let's see what he's been talking about today.
Moments that people are going to be talking about years from now. My next guest actually played a major role at the conference and continues to be a passionate advocate dedicated to spreading the word and educating the masses. Joining me now, Coin Stories podcast host Natalie Brunell. Natalie, you know, it's so weird.
I'll watch that later. All right, we're going to watch this real quick, and then we're going to finish up.
Supply that will ever exist. But for too long, our government has violated the cardinal rule that every Bitcoiner knows by heart. Never sell your Bitcoin, brother.
Never sell. All right, so 13 million is the Bitcoin base case. 2045. 2045 base case 13 mil. I wish it was 10 years ago. That'd be awesome. If I was lifeguarding right now and investing in Bitcoin, that'd be freaking crazy. But it's now, and who knows what the next 10 years is going to bring. So all right, cool. That was fun. Hope you guys have a good one. We'll look at some more stuff later on and tune in for some more cool stuff.